Hello lovers of cardboard and plastic. On my channel so far I've done quite a few painting tutorials, especially Mansions of Madness at this point, but a user brought to my attention that there's one thing I really haven't quite done enough of, and that is kind of show the consistency of my paints. I felt that this was pretty fair criticism, so I have gone and in the newest Ghost video for Mansions of Madness, you'll see I show a little bit more of the paint consistency. This video is to basically sort of rectify that mistake for all the older videos and just so that everybody has sort of a general idea of what kind of paint consistency I go for. So let's just jump right into my setup. I use a wet palette, and honestly I highly recommend that you use a wet palette of some sort. I have a one that I bought, but you can easily just make one your own. I'll include a few videos down in the description below that have basically a walkthrough to make your own wet palette. I actually started out with a custom made one for quite a while, but I just kind of decided to buy this one at some point. I'll include a link to it as well. Keep in mind it's a little bit more expensive than just making your own, so it's up to you. You don't need to buy one. It's not going to magically make your painting better or anything like that. I just thought it was kind of convenient. And for this video, I'm going to show 3 different reds from 3 different companies because the paints for every single company is going to be just slightly different. So I'm using a Citadel, Army Painter, and Vallejo. First up, I'm going to start with Citadel. Citadel comes straight out of the pot, just a little bit thicker than most paints. And I use an old brush to do all of this. This brush I do not care about whatsoever. It can get paint all over it, and that's really what I use for mixing and adding water and that sort of thing. And this is a size 0 brush, so I put maybe about 2 brushfuls of water inside of the paint mix, stir it around, and that should be about right. You'll see it's a little bit watery, it might run just a little bit. I'll also show on a little piece of paper here kind of what you're going for. You want to see that line, but you still want to be able to see some of the white underneath. And that's really the consistency you kind of want to go for. Next up, I'll do an Army Painter, which Army Painter is a little bit weird because it has sort of a mixing fluid in it. You really have to shake up that bottle. If you do not shake up the bottle properly, you're going to have a much harder time thinning the paint. Again, it's maybe about 2 brushfuls of water. And it should be about the same, kind of a thin red line. Now Vallejo comes out, it's not quite as thick as Citadel, so you might only need maybe 1 brushful, 1.5, somewhere in that, rather than full 2 brushes to get kind of a nice consistency of paint. And you can see all 3 lines here is they're relatively thin, and that's really what you're going for. So for all my paints, I shoot for roughly 50% water to 50% paint. Somewhere in there. This is not a full-on guide because obviously there's different sort of consistency you want for different sort of techniques and things like that. But generally, just for basic layering, base coating, that sort of thing, getting somewhere close to about 50% water.